Guys, it's Davey here, and it's currently day 114. I hope you guys had an amazing day, and I do hope you guys are doing better than yesterday. But today I'll be recording two videos. Why? Because I missed out on my recording window yesterday. So the time is 8:35 p.m., and I'll be recording day 114 and day 115. Now, you guys may be wondering, David, why did you miss a day? You normally don't do this. And when you do, you normally relapse on drugs. Now, I hate to break the news to you, but that is the case yesterday. I tried it again, I relapsed, I did it again, whatever you guys want to call it, I did drugs again, all right? Specifically, meth, right? Methamphetamine. Now, you guys may be saying, like, David, you broke your commitment, you broke your dedication, you broke the promise you made to yourself, so how do you expect us to even bother listening to one word you say? Well, I just want to say that you don't have to, because I am simply still figuring out my life on this channel. I'm still figuring out my life and areas how I can improve in. And every single day shares valuable information that if you remember and you take to heart, you'll become better than yesterday. But all notes aside, what I had learned this time, well, before when I relapse, this is very common for most people, is that they think that doing it again, trying it again, they wish for a different outcome. But I soon to realize that every time I wish for a different outcome, every time I wish for the substance or whatever addiction to be different, the outcome always seems to be the same. Because if you take the same substance, if you're surrounded by the same people, if you're surrounded in the same environment, then how do you think that outcome will be different? Because the outcome 99% will be the exact same. So I quickly learned after many mistakes, because I never really cared. I never really remembered. I used to use drugs as an escape of reality, but now I mainly do it for fun, which is not good. I don't recommend drugs. I don't think it's a good thing to do. I think you'd rather not touch it, right? But this time, I mainly did it for fun, right? Specifically, meth. I did it for sexual gratification. Now, people do it for other things, but sex is definitely up there. So that was my do it for fun reason. Now, what I realized today or yesterday is that when I made the commitment to end it for good, the reason I broke that commitment, the reason, the initiative behind why I acted is because I created such a strong desire. I created such a strong desire because of disappointment and the need to prove myself right. And these are all traits of my personality. So it was no surprise that the pride got the better of me. Now, what do I mean by disappointment and the need to prove myself right? Now, this all comes back down to believing the outcome will be different. Believing the outcome will be different and that the outcome will be better. I was thinking about all the good things that happened on it and not remembering that I went into debt, that I was a different person, that I hurt people in emotionally, obviously not physically. There was all these negative that I just hid under the rug because I tried to convince myself that the outcome simply will be different. Now, disappointment being obviously that the outcome also wasn't the one I anticipated. Maybe my first experience with the substance, I didn't have a good experience, so I wanted to do it again to wish for a different outcome. And I did the second time. But the third time, I went back to it because I went back into the same environment, same routine. So the outcome was similar. But every time we try substances or do things, it's because we expect a different outcome. Well, at least that is one of the reasons if you do it for fun. If you use it as a source to escape reality, then that's a total different story. Then, my friend, you need some help. But either way, doing drugs is definitely not a good thing. And I don't want to do it again because now I'm certain that the outcome will not change. The outcome will simply not change and it will hinder my progress, right? It will hinder my progress because it does. It does drastically slow down my progress. And now, if I just stay focused, then I probably wouldn't have been distracted. But because I let that moment of uncertainty creep back into my mind, I started looking into places where I'm not supposed to look at. And then one day, it just came up to me, this new idea. I'm like, I want to try it. I want to try it, and then boom, that's it. Now, I'm not a reoccurring addict, whatever, but you guys may classify a relapse in 1 month or 2 months as a reoccurring addict. But whatever the case, this is not a reoccurrence for me because I simply do not rely on this. And I know I don't rely on this. My ego was just too strong. I was just disappointed. And I just needed to prove myself so goddamn right that maybe the outcome will be better. But then what, guys? If you did get a better outcome, if I did get a better outcome, then would that make me stop? Or would that make me seek for a better outcome? Because I'd rather have a bad outcome in the start and maybe just end it for good. But if we constantly seek for a different outcome and we do get a better one, then maybe that's when dependence happens. That's when we rely on something because we expect it to be better every single day. We expect it to be better, that it will pull us from this harsh reality we are in right now. So the reason I did it was to have fun this time, not trying to escape life, because I love my reality. I enjoy my reality. I enjoy being consistent. I enjoy being in the momentum. I simply just allowed distraction to get me. I simply built a desire that is too strong. I paid too much emotional investment to it that I turned that desire into an intention. And no matter how hard I try to let that go, when you invest too much emotion in something, it can become a battle, guys. It can become a battle. So the moment you notice a distraction, the moment you notice something pop up in your head that you're not supposed to think about, try to understand that and weigh out all the bad points first. Always weigh out the bad points. Because if you're more likely to think about what negatives you can get from this thing, then you probably won't even bother thinking about the good. Because I was thinking about all the good experiences that I had in my first, but I was disappointed. So I was expecting better experiences this time. But if I realized first that, okay, this is going to hinder my potential to be a bodybuilder, this is going to hinder my business pursuit, this is going to hinder my self-improvement journey. If I listed down my goals and how this would have affected me in the start, then maybe I would not have created a strong desire. And that is the thing about learning, guys. You see, I never learned this. I never understood any of this shit. I simply just used to smoke weed, take whatever that I had to supply on a day-to-day basis because I simply disdained my life. I did not enjoy my life. And that is escape. And when you escape from something, you refuse to learn. You refuse to learn because you refuse to change, because the escape you have is much greater and much more pleasurable than the reality you have to face. And to change, that means facing what you're trying to run away from. Either way, I could have just ignored it. I could have simply learned my lesson without the need to relapse. But I did it anyways out of uncertainty. The ambiguity, the what if this tiny percent, this time, that a different outcome will occur because of this ambiguity. The ambiguity wasn't created around whether my reality was going good, but whether I can have fun without it. I was simply unsure if I can enjoy the same pleasure without it, the same sexual gratification without it. Because if you guys had done it, and again, don't recommend doing it, it's a horrible drug, it'll fuck you up, it will put you to debt, it will make you borrow money, it will change you absolutely. And this is all the negatives I had to face while on it. I lost a lot of money, I squandered a lot of money, I borrowed a lot of money, and I hindered my potential greatly. So in the end, it's not worth it when you have a purpose in your life. And as a matter of fact, it's not worth it in general. It's a horrible, horrible, horrible substance. Now, I am only fortunate that I had come such a long way to build this willpower, not even willpower, but to build an understanding of what's right or wrong, of boundaries, of what I can cross and what I can't cross, when is enough and when is not enough. How much will it take to absolutely destroy my life? I am grateful to build this understanding so I can just survive, just survive the withdrawals, just to survive a day-to-day life, to function as a normal human being. Because when people don't understand what they are touching, what they are injecting, what they are snorting and shooting, then they can form a dependence on it. They can form a dependence because they never knew what was in stock. They never expected it to be that goddamn good. And when you do, when your world is crashing down, you only need one, just one little hit, and then you're freaking in heaven, guys. But obviously, that's not the case. That's not the case. 2 hours gone, you're the brokest guy in town. You're probably running around naked and cutting off your own balls, pretty much. So, very, very horrible. I'm fortunate enough to have my balls still, but you can definitely end up like that. But the moment you lose sight, the moment you start looking at places where you're not supposed to, you will end up doing things you repent. I can say I regret today because I got what I wanted. I got what I desired from this experience. Perhaps if I had planned it out more meticulously, then I would have saved a lot of money. Then I wouldn't have borrowed money. Then I wouldn't have hindered my potential. And I'll keep that in mind. Whether there is a next time or not, and I do hope there is a next time, but we cannot say or be too certain about the future. It would be foolish for us to repeat our mistakes twice. Now, guys, I was really hesitant to post this video or talk more deeply about this subject, about the even drug I used, as I know there's things we are supposed to keep private in our lives. But this is a struggle, and this was a fail for me. This is a struggle many people face where many are also afraid to speak up. But you will be judged, you will be condemned, but you also may gain the approval from others if you speak your story. But what's most important is that you own the truth to yourself. And that is important to realize what is right and wrong, what you must do from now on, and what you must do to prevent things like this from happening is to have the courage to admit it to yourself that this stops now, or make the effort to stop it. Cut it down 50%, cut it down 75%, do something about it. But you can only do that when you own it to yourself, when you tell yourself that, hey, I know this needs to stop because it is ruining my potential. It is ruining my family. It is ruining everything in my life. And I can be far greater if I just have the courage to stand on my own feet and admit it, not to the world, but to myself. But guys, this has been my Friday. I hope you guys learned something from this, but if not, I'll be here for you guys tomorrow. But till then, good night.